Yeah, as long as we both see it. All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 39 of Chewing the Cud. This is a weekly live stream where we sit down at the kitchen table and discuss things related and unrelated to regenerative agriculture. Usually the way these things work is we start off with some brief introductions, and then we'll get into our topic for the week. And the topic for the week this week is really just sort of a meet and greet with us. I know there's a bunch of new people on, as far as following on social media and whatnot. And we do a little bit of brief introductions at the beginning of these live streams. And so I just sort of wanted to get into depth with that, and then also introduce Connor, who's finally here. I know people have been asking about when he's going to be here, and he's finally here in the flesh. And he's not replacing Isaac. Don't get that confused. Isaac's coming back, and then we'll have to try to cram 3 people into the frame, but we'll see how that works. So I'll just run through a quick introduction, and then after a little chat back and forth, then we'll open it up to questions, comments, concerns. Ask us anything. We'll answer it. It doesn't have to be related to regenerative agriculture at all. Questions about our backgrounds, about Connor, about anything. So that's the part that we really enjoy, is the interaction. So as far as introductions, I know this is usually Isaac's job, but I'll give it my best shot. Isaac, if you're out there, you can critique me. I'm Ben Hawley, and this is Connor Helton, right? Helton. Yeah. And we're interns here at Green Pastures Farm. Isaac is the third member of the party here. And we're interning for Judy. And we're here to learn everything that he has to offer. We graze about 350 head of South Pole cattle. We do some parasite-resistant hair sheep. We sell livestock guardian dogs. There's some shiitake mushrooms, bale and rollers, fence posts, consulting, farm tours, grazing schools, on and on and on. It's pretty busy here on the farm. So, and we're just here. Isaac and I are on year 2. Connor's about starting year 1. And we're excited for this next chapter, and just an epic crew we got here. So, stoked to learn and share a little bit of it with you guys, and sort of, learn along the way, which is what we really enjoy. So anyway, how about we just go into a little discussion about how did you find out about Greg? What was your, because Isaac and I have a similar, me and Isaac is similar, but how did you find out about Greg in the first place?
I found out through YouTube. So I was just kind of looking at regenerative agriculture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I was living on a farm and was looking more into it and trying to learn more. And his channel came up. Actually, I saw the one with, it was Justin Rhodes was talking to him. Yeah. And then I kind of from there got to his channel and started looking at his stuff. Videos. So.
Yeah, it was the same thing with me and Isaac. It was we saw that we both watched the Great American Farm Tour, parts of it, and the one with Greg, it was we were like, oh, this guy's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? He's saying stuff that makes sense and whatever. And I didn't really watch a lot of Greg as far as YouTube was concerned. I just went right from there to seeing if he had an internship or if that was something that was doable. And this was back in the day before he had his current website, and you had to go, you couldn't even get to the page with the intern information on it. You had to Google it and go through a different back door to get there. And then there was information oh yeah, you can stay on the farm for a year or 6 months. At that point it was either or. Now it's just a year. And you could, and he's yeah, you could grow a little garden, we'll give you a little stipend, give you meat, milk, and eggs. You get to learn. I was that sounds like a pretty good gig, but I didn't think I was gonna do it. I just chalked it up I'll put it on the back burner when I graduate from college. If it's still interesting, maybe I'll give it a shot. And then it was very interesting. Long story short, but we can get into that. But so you were before doing this, you were as far as your introduction to agriculture is concerned, you were in Oregon, right?
Yeah, so I went out there, and then I worked for a church for a year, doing collegiate ministry stuff. Mm-hmm. And then as I was finishing that up, I got an offer. Some of the friends I had made out there, they had gotten a really big school grant, it's a farm to school grant is what it was called, and so it was the state of Oregon funding farming programs essentially
in like 4 schools.
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
so they needed extra hands to help, and I was like, sure. Like, I mean, the Oregon summer is amazing, so I was like, yeah, I'd love to stay another summer and do that.
So you were out there you were already there in the first place. But you weren't planning on doing the ag thing in the beginning.
No,
it was just happened to be.
Yeah, I met them while I was there, and then as I was like getting ready to leave, they were like, "Hey, we have this opportunity. Would you want to come out and work for the summer?" And I was like, "Sure, why not? Like, I get to live there for free and like work on the farm and enjoy another summer." Yeah. And so
that was just complete chance. That's wild. And so that's what took you here. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Think about like if you had, because you're originally from Tennessee, from Nashville. So imagine if you had just gone home, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you wouldn't be here, you know? Oh, yeah. That's so crazy to think about. Yeah, that's wild. Like, yeah, I don't know. For me it was like I had no idea in college what I wanted to do, like after I graduated at all. And I mean, I knew I loved like outdoors, and I've always loved being outside, backpacking. I'm like a huge plant geek and bird geek, and like, I just like love learning about that kind of stuff. And so I knew I wanted to do something in that vein. So I was like, all right, I'll study environmental science, because it's a pretty broad spectrum thing. And along the way, independently, I think I read one of Joel Salatin's books is what like introduced me to regenerative agriculture in the first place. And I think it was You Can Farm. And I read that book and was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, it sounds interesting. Because I'd worked on farms in high school, but it was sort of like vegetables, not a lot of livestock. And I mean, like carrots, thinning carrots can only be so fun. You know what I mean? And so
stooping over.
Yeah, and it was just kind of monotonous, but I enjoyed it because it was, you know, I got to be outside and working with your hands, and it's like way better than some other random summer job. So I enjoyed that part of it, and like the rewarding aspect of working on the farm. But I didn't think that was going to be a career by any means. And so I read that book in college, or beginning in college, and then sort of started learning a little bit more about it on my own, and then started realizing the potential impact that it could have in relation to the things that I was learning in school from an environmental standpoint, about, you know, repairing ecosystems and like being able to feed people while helping sequester carbon at the same time, that whole deal. And then I really started to get amped about it. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And that Greg Judy thing in the back of my mind was like, this is becoming more of a reality. This might be my way into the industry, you know? And so then after I graduated, I applied because I didn't have anything else. I didn't have anything else planned. I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot. I'll regret it if I don't. And I did, and you know the process. It's not like you just show up and you're here. You know,
you're hired.
Yeah, no, it's a deal. I mean, and you're gonna get into it too, because when we get all the applications, and then we'll read them. Isaac, you and me will read them, and Greg and Jan will read them. We all do it independently, and then we come together and discuss, and it's a pretty good process from seeing it on the back end. So yeah, but anyway, that's crazy though, that you just by chance were out there and then decided that you were gonna stay for the farming thing. But did you have any interest in ag before then at all, or was it something even on your radar, or was it purely just like, oh, this is a cool opportunity?
Not really. Like, yeah, I was just like, oh, this seems fun. I like these people. I'd love to go help and do that. I think, like, my dad he's always had horses. Yeah. My granddad's always raised goats. And he used to do cattle as well. And so, like, I kind of was exposed to it. But as a kid, I was just like, I just like playing, you know, with the baby animals, like the baby goats and stuff like that. It was just like they were cute and fun. Yeah. But it wasn't really like I could see this being, you know, what I want to do with my life.
But so because it was like that, right, where it was just sort of this serendipitous thing, like, when did that shift happen where you were like, oh, I actually really enjoy this, and this is something that I kind of want to pursue? Like, when did that shift happen? You know?
So, I mean, that was that summer. So, like, I I majored in kinesiology in college. And
I remember you said that.
I've always been into health and fitness and stuff like that. And so I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. Mm-hmm. I was like, nah. Like after I shadowed, I was like, I can't do that. And then I tried a bunch of different things. I did strength and conditioning. That was probably the most fun thing that I did. With it. But it just wasn't clicking with me, and like I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then I spent that summer on the farm. We were growing our own food. We were raising pigs. We were raising like egg-laying chickens.
That's awesome.
And like all that stuff. And I was getting grass-fed beef. And it was just like, wait a second.
Yeah.
You can live this way, and you can take care of yourself and like grow your own food, and it's so much better, so much healthier, and just seeing that process. But then and they were doing that on their like small farm, like at home. Yeah. But then we were also like building like a 2-acre agricultural farm for the
school at the same time
for educational purposes. Okay. And so I got to see both of those aspects, and like, and I love working with my hands. I love being outside. Yeah. I love like being able to grow my own food, and it was just, to me, I didn't get a whole lot of fresh out of the garden vegetables and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is so totally much better. Thing. Like it's like I don't like these vegetables if I get them from the store, but I can just eat them straight out of the garden here. Yeah. And so for me, I was seeing that, and I was like, this is the kind of life that I want to live. You know, like this is the kind of thing that I want to do. And then just realizing that, okay, there are other people who are actually doing this and like making a living and like making it a career. Yeah. And so it was probably about end of July. Like I went there in June, and then I stayed until like mid-September, no, like end of September. Like beginning of September.
So like the growing season started,
And so like at the end of July, I was like doing a lot of like YouTube research, like all that stuff.
You were convinced that it was going to be a thing.
Yeah, and I found out that they had the internship here, and I was like, what the heck? I'll give it a shot. I'll apply. Not expecting to hear anything back. And then when I did, I was like, oh, okay, like this could actually happen. So,
were you because you were raising? I mean, you were raising livestock a little bit, like with the pigs and the chicken stuff, but you were doing a lot of vegetables. So was there something about like the cattle situation where you're like, that's something I really want to learn, or was it more just Greg as a human that you were like drawn to that made you want to do it, or you know what I mean? Like
I think I liked dealing with the pigs and the chickens more than I liked the vegetable stuff. Like, it was super interesting. I loved learning about it.
Yeah,
but I was like, long term, I want to take care of animals, you know? And so, but then also, you know, Greg he just makes sense. Like, it's like, you hear all this information that's like, oh, this is bad for the land, this is bad for this is bad for that. And I'm just like, it doesn't correlate, but then he talks about it, and it's just like, that makes sense. I can jive with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, that's cool though, man. Yeah, I mean, it's just funny to like think about the things that happen that sort of bounce you around, and then you end up heading in a particular direction. You know what I mean? It's wild. And so you had talked to us a little bit about this in your visit, but like, do you have like any inkling as far as like what you want to do? I mean, you just got here, but like what you want to do, like with this like knowledge base that you're gonna get. You know what I mean? I had such a primitive idea in the beginning of what I wanted to do with it.
Right.
And that evolved like seriously over time. But at this point, do you have like any inkling of like what you think you want to do with it, or anything at all? You know what I mean?
I kind of like, there's this like, because I'm a big vision kind of guy. So
give me the big vision. Let's hear it.
So what I'd like to do, my great grandparents have a farm, or they own like quite a bit of acreage in Tennessee. Yeah. And so, and my great grandmother is actually still alive.
And, that's cool.
I'd love to eventually go back there and do this there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, one, just to keep that in the family.
Yeah.
And keep that alive. But I'd love to do that. And, like, because I want to, whatever I do, I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, kind of like, big goal, big vision would be to do this and kind of have, like, an intern program, but more for, like homeless or at-risk kids or something like that.
Giving them exposure to like what that is.
Giving them because I mean, growing up in a city or growing up in the suburbs, you have no concept of where this meat came from, where this food comes from. Yeah. And like being able to give people that experience.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's like a totally different. It's just funny to think about. Like Isaac and I have talked at length at this point, obviously, about like sort of what the direction we want to head in. You know what I mean? And it's kind of cool because the three of us are all like we're all super stoked about it in the same way, but also like looking at like slightly different paths. You know what I mean? Like after this, it's not like we're all thinking like, oh yeah, gonna go and raise some cows or some sheep or whatever and sell them for seed stock and like that'll be that. You know what I mean? It's like Isaac. I mean, I'm speaking for Isaac, and Isaac, if you're on here, just start correcting me if I'm wrong. But as far as I can gather from what Isaac's thinking about is like big vision, obviously long term. He'd like to start something close to home in that similar sort of community that he grew up in and be able to like supply people in his circle with good quality meat and food in general. So he's super interested in like nesting enterprises with sheep and cattle and incorporating pigs because his family's done that for years and years and that kind of a deal. And then you with your like helping out a huge group of people and bringing them onto the land and that type of a deal. And then I'm interested in this as like big picture is this is like a permanent fixture in the food system, and so how do you get there, and in the way that I can see it is I think there's always going to be a place for small to medium scale like agriculture, because local food should always have a place in society. But if you really want it to like uproot a big portion of the infrastructure, the way that we feed ourselves, you're going to have to figure out how to do it at some sort of scale to feed millions and millions of people. And so what does that look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I think that gets me super interested in as far as like next steps, trying to sort of see what this thing looks like a little bit bigger, whatever that means, Yeah. So anyway, if anyone's got any questions or comments for us about how we heard about Greg or where our backgrounds or where we grew up or like anything like that or anything related to anything, you can just start throwing it in the chat and we'll start looking at these.